Mikel Arteta is standing at a press conference table with Champions League branding all around him. The Premier League title has been won. The celebrations are barely 48 hours old. And already a reporter is pushing a microphone toward his face, asking him about Paris Saint-Germain. Not next month, not next week, 9 days from now. And Arteta does not flinch. He does not reach for comfortable words. He looks directly ahead and says, we have 6 days that we need to write a new history in this football club. 6 days. That is the window this Arsenal squad has between lifting the Premier League trophy in front of their supporters and walking out in Budapest for the Champions League final. 6 days to recover, 6 days to prepare, 6 days to get every available player sharp, focused and ready to face one of the most dangerous attacking sides in European football. At the same time, inside the training ground, Mikel Merino is working with physios to prove his body is ready. JURRIEN TIMBER is pushing himself daily, chasing a dream of featuring in that final. And Arteta is quietly carrying one of the most difficult selection decisions of his entire managerial career. Everything is happening at once and the clock is already running. Let us start exactly where the story demands we start, with Mikel Arteta standing at a press conference podium, still carrying the weight of a Premier League title win on his shoulders, already being asked about what comes next. Because for this Arsenal squad and this manager, celebration has a deadline. Arteta was asked directly how he is managing the balance between the Crystal Palace game and the Champions League final against Paris Saint-Germain. And his answer told you everything about the culture he has built inside this football club. He said, and I want to read this to you exactly as he said it. Well, we had 48 hours to enjoy the success of winning the league. Now, tomorrow and Saturday, we are going to prepare really well because we need to now lift again our habits and the standards that we normally do things to be in the best possible way to compete on. Sunday, he then added, we will have a little window there again to celebrate, to lift the trophy in the manner that deserves it, to connect with the people that we have constantly around us. But then we have 6 days that we need to write a new history in this football club. Now, stop and think about what he just said. 6 days. That is the window between lifting the Premier League trophy and walking out in Budapest for the biggest game in Arsenal's recent history. And Arteta is treating those 6 days with the same level of seriousness and discipline that he has applied to every single week of this season. That is not an accident. That is a mentality. That is a culture that was built over years, and it is paying off at exactly the right moment. Here is what is at stake, and I need you to understand this clearly. Arsenal have not won the Premier League in 22 years. They just ended that wait. Now they stand 9 days away from potentially completing a double that would cement this generation of players and this manager as truly legendary in the history of the club. The pressure is enormous, the fatigue is real, and yet the signals coming out of the training ground and from the players themselves suggest that this squad is not flinching. But if key players are unavailable, if injuries disrupt the lineup, if the wrong decisions are made in selection, this moment could slip away. The difference between triumph and heartbreak right now is incredibly thin. If you want this level of detailed analysis every single time there is a major Arsenal story, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel breaks down the facts, the implications, and the real picture behind every headline. Hit subscribe and you will never miss a thing. Mikel Merino fitness update, first report. Mikel Merino spoke directly to the media and gave this update on his physical condition. He said, recovery has been great. I am fit enough to be part of the team now. I trained today and I am going to be training with them for the rest of the week. It is up to the gaffer to decide if he wants me in the team. Now, let me give you my analysis of what that statement actually means. Merino did not say he is 100%. He said he is fit enough. That is a very deliberate choice of words. Players and medical teams use that language carefully. It means he has crossed the threshold from unavailable to available. Whether he is sharp enough, match ready enough to start a Champions League final against Paris Saint-Germain is an entirely different question, and that decision now rests with Arteta. The second fitness update on Merino went deeper. He said, there has been a lot of hard work with the physios and strength and conditioning guys. I am fit enough to be with the team now. I have trained today. I am going to be training with them for the rest of the week. And now it is up to the gaffer to decide if I am in the team or not. This version of the quote is even more revealing. He is specifically crediting the physios and the conditioning staff. That tells you this recovery was not straightforward. It required serious specialist work to get him to this point. The fact that he is training with the group this week is significant because it means Arteta will have real evidence to base his decision on, not just medical reports, but actual live training sessions to judge where Merino is physically and mentally. The situation is this. Arteta has a player who wants to play, who has done everything asked of him to recover, and who will train every day this week to prove he belongs in that squad. The final call is Arteta's, and it is one of the most important decisions he will make all season. Oliver Glasner praises Eberechi Eze, Crystal Palace manager. Oliver Glasner spoke publicly after Arsenal's title win, and what he said about Eberechi Eze is worth examining carefully. His exact words were, "First of all, I want to congratulate Arsenal, Mikel Arteta, his players, staff, for a huge achievement of winning the title after 22 years. It's a fantastic job they have done. Also, a special congrats to Eberechi. I think he has taken the right decision to go to Arsenal and not to another club." Let me put that in context. That another club he is referring to is Tottenham Hotspur. Arsenal and Tottenham were both pursuing Eze last summer. Arsenal won that race, and now the manager of the club, Eze, left, is publicly saying the player made the right call. That is remarkable. That is an opponent manager validating the decision that changed Arsenal's entire season. The evidence suggests Eze's move to Arsenal was not just good for the player, it was potentially season-defining for the club. We will return to exactly how that transfer happened when we get to the article analysis. But for now, understand that Glasner's words are not just sportsmanship. They are a recognition that Eze, by choosing Arsenal, chose correctly. Arteta pays tribute to Pep Guardiola at the same press conference. Arteta paused to acknowledge one of the most important relationships in his coaching journey. He said about Guardiola, "Pep Guardiola has been a huge part of my journey. I started my coaching career with him. He raised the standards in this league, and the only thing he has provoked in me, in the players and in the club, is the obligation to raise our levels and our standards and to try to be better." He then added, "We have been very close in the last few years, and thankfully this time we managed to do it." The reality of what Arteta said here is layered. He is giving genuine credit to Guardiola while also making a subtle but powerful point. For years, being very close meant coming second to Manchester City. Arteta learned under Guardiola, absorbed his methods, absorbed his standards, and then ultimately used them to beat the system his mentor built. That is not disrespect, that is evolution. And Arteta is gracious enough to acknowledge where it all began. JURRIEN TIMBER on the Champions League final. JURRIEN TIMBER, who suffered a serious injury that disrupted a large part of his Arsenal career before this season, was asked directly whether there is a chance he could play in the Champions League final. His response was, hopefully, yes. There is hope, but like I said, we will see. I am working really hard, I am trying really hard, and obviously playing in the Champions League final is a dream. So I will give everything, and with the World Cup as well, but obviously first the Champions League final, it is going to be amazing anyway. The situation here is one of the most emotionally compelling storylines heading into Budapest. Timber has fought to get back. He is clearly motivated by the idea of playing in that final. He referenced the World Cup in the same breath, which tells you this player understands the scale of what the next few weeks represent. First the final, then the tournament. He is prioritising correctly, and he is letting his work on the training pitch speak for itself. Martin Odegaard's message to Arsenal fans. Arsenal captain Martin Odegaard sent a direct message when asked about the final run-in. He said, "Now there is one big game left for us in the Premier League, and then there is the Champions League final. We want to bring the trophies home. I can guarantee you that we will give it our all and keep going until the bitter end. And with your support, we will be ready." That is a captain speaking. That is a leader giving his word to the supporters of the club. Note the language. He did not say they will try. He said he can guarantee they will give everything. That kind of public commitment from a captain in the days before a Champions League final is significant. It sets the tone. It tells the dressing room and the supporters what the expectation is. The reporter's emotional words to Arteta. One of the most powerful moments from any press conference this week came when a journalist addressed Arteta with something far more personal than a typical question. The reporter told him, "I have reported on Anfield 89, the double years of Wenger, the Invincibles. I did not think it would ever get any bigger. But the emotion outside the stadium on Tuesday night, I have never seen anything like it. And you are responsible." Think about the weight of that statement. This journalist has covered the greatest moments in modern Arsenal history, Anfield 89, the Wenger doubles, the Invincibles. And they are saying that the scenes when Arsenal won this title surpassed all of it in terms of emotional atmosphere. That is not a journalist being complimentary. That is someone who has witnessed decades of football history, putting this moment above all of them. Arsenal's £770 million revenue, the financial picture that has now been reported around Arsenal for the 2025 to 2026 season is staggering. The numbers are as follows: £192 million from Premier League earnings, £124 million from their Champions League campaign, £290 million in commercial income, and £160 million in matchday revenue. That gives a total of £770 million for the season. The evidence suggests this is a transformational moment for the club's financial power. For years, the conversation was about whether Arsenal could compete financially with the elite. That conversation is now over. A club generating £770 million in a single season with a Premier League title and a Champions League final still playing out is no longer chasing the elite. It is part of it. Arteta's tribute to his wife. Arteta was asked about the people who helped him reach this moment, and his answer about his wife was one of the most personal and genuine moments of the entire week. He said, "She needs to understand that without her, none of that would have happened for sure. She is the person and the reason why I have kept my composure, my self-confidence, my energy at the level that was required to do what we have done. Behind every manager who lifts a trophy is a personal support system that nobody sees." Arteta was willing to put that on record publicly. He did not have to do that. He chose to. And in doing so, he showed exactly the kind of character and emotional intelligence that has made him such an effective leader of this football club. Eberechi Eze reacts to the viral Manchester City fan image. In a lighter moment, Eberechi Eze was asked about the image that went viral, showing a dejected Manchester City supporter during the title celebrations. His response was pure joy. He said, "It came up in one of my boys' group chats. Someone posted the guy as an actual bottle. Oh shoot, it might be the funniest picture of all time. It might be my display picture for the rest of the year." This is important for a different reason. It shows you the mood inside this Arsenal squad right now. These players are happy. They are loose. They are enjoying this moment without it affecting their focus. That kind of collective joy is important in the days before a major final. Declan Rice, third in Ballon d'Or 2026 odds. According to current betting odds, Declan Rice is the third favourite to win the Ballon d'Or in 2026. The breakdown stands at Ousmane Dembele on 25%, Harry Kane on 19%, and Declan Rice on 11%. The situation is this. Rice is being mentioned alongside two players widely regarded as among the best in European football right now. For an Arsenal midfielder to be in that conversation after a title-winning season and a Champions League final appearance speaks volumes about how his performances have been perceived across the continent. A strong showing in Budapest could only strengthen that case. Viktor Gyökeres on winning and scoring. Viktor Gyökeres was asked about his mindset as a striker. She said, "If you score a lot of goals before, you want to keep it up. That is what I try to do. Of course, most of all, I want to win football matches and titles. It is a great feeling to win it." That answer tells you something important about Gyökeres as a player. He leads with winning, not personal statistics. He frames his goal-scoring instinct as something that serves the team goal. That mentality is exactly what Arteta has built his squad around. Patrick Vieira backs David Raya for Player of the Season. Patrick Vieira, speaking to Sky Sports, made a strong case for David Raya as Arsenal's Player of the Season. He said, "David Raya, for me, has to be the Player of the Season. I think he was outstanding from the first game until the end of the season. I think he was really impressive. He made some really important saves. He won points for Arsenal. For me, I do not see any other players who were quite outstanding. We're always going for those forward or creative players. Why not a defender and why not a goalkeeper? I think David, for me, will have my vote." Vieira is making a point that goes beyond just praising one player. He is challenging the instinct that always gravitates toward attackers when deciding who is the most important performer in a title-winning season. The evidence supports his view. A goalkeeper who wins points, saves crucial situations and maintains that level from the opening game to the final whistle is as valuable as any number 9, Noni Madueke, expected in England's World Cup squad. The news around England's World Cup preparations confirms that Noni Madueke is expected to be named in Thomas Tuchel's final 26-man squad for the tournament. He would join Arsenal teammates Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice in that group. Tuchel is set to announce the squad on Friday, with the tournament beginning on June 11th. The reality for Arsenal supporters watching this is that 3 of their players could be heading to the World Cup together, fresh off a Premier League title and potentially a Champions League final. The profile of this squad on the international stage has never been higher. Nagelsmann's message to Havertz and the selection dilemma. Now let us turn to the first article. which centres on Kai Havertz, his Germany manager Julian Nagelsmann, and the selection question that Mikel Arteta must answer before the Champions League final. The situation begins with Nagelsmann speaking directly to Havertz through the media. His words were, "On the pitch, you are outstanding, incredibly important for us. Stay healthy, clear your mind and go for it. You have everything we need to have a top goal scorer up front." That is the Germany manager publicly naming Havertz as his preferred centre-forward for the World Cup. And the condition attached to that is fitness. Stay healthy, clear your mind. That is the message. It is a message that also tells you Nagelsmann is aware of the disruption this season has caused for Havertz. A serious knee injury limited him to just 11 Premier League starts. The early part of his campaign was decimated. In terms of minutes played, he barely featured. But here is where the story becomes genuinely compelling. He returned at exactly the right time. He scored the header against Burnley that the evidence suggests played a direct role in setting up Arsenal's Premier League title win. A Cristiano Ronaldo-style moment described as a header that will live long in the memory. For a player who has spent most of the season watching from the sidelines, that is an extraordinary way to re-enter the story. Now, the question facing Arteta is one of the most difficult selection decisions he has faced as Arsenal manager. Havertz or Gyökeres to lead the line against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League final. The case for Havertz is clear. He scored when it mattered most. He is a different physical and tactical proposition to most strikers. He creates space, links play, and his movement opens up areas for players like Bukayo Saka to exploit. Some Arsenal supporters have long held that Havertz in the number 9 role makes Saka an even more dangerous attacking threat. The case for Gyökeres is also real. He has improved consistently throughout the season. He will be motivated, carrying the chip of being dropped to the bench for the Burnley game. And he offers a different set of tools for exposing a defence like Paris Saint-Germain's. The conclusion the evidence leads to is this: Arteta does not have a selection problem. He has a selection luxury. 2 informed strikers who both deserve to start, who offer completely different ways of threatening the best defenders in Europe. That is a position of strength, and it is a direct reflection of how well the club has been built. On the Germany side, Havertz is expected to be excused from the friendly against Finland on May 31st, the day after the Champions League final, and may be given extra recovery time before the June 6th game against the United States. That Germany are building their schedule around his Champions League final commitments tells you exactly how important he is to Nagelsmann's plans. Berta's Esposito suggestion and the Eze decision that changed everything. The second article takes us back to the summer transfer window and reveals a fascinating internal decision-making moment at Arsenal that, with the benefit of hindsight, looks like one of the most important choices of the entire season. When Havertz suffered his knee injury at the very start of the season, Arsenal was suddenly and urgently short of attacking options. They had already invested heavily in the squad over the summer, but the injury changed the calculation immediately. Something had to be done. Andrea Berta, Arsenal's sporting director, had a clear view on what the solution should be. He felt the club needed a powerful, physically dominant striker, someone who could give the attack an entirely different dimension. The name he proposed to Arteta was Francesco Pio Esposito, an Inter Milan teenager described as one of the brightest young forwards in Europe, already earning a reputation for being aggressive and physically difficult to handle. Arsenal's interest in Esposito was genuine. There was real internal discussion about bringing him to North London, but Arteta had a different view. He decided the club needed a different type of match winner entirely. That is when Eberechi Eze became the target. What followed was a transfer operation that moved at remarkable speed. Arsenal worked intensively behind the scenes to complete the deal before Tottenham could intervene. And here is the detail that tells you just how close it came. Eze was reportedly waiting in a car outside the Emirates Stadium while the final paperwork was being sorted before his official unveiling. That image, sitting in a car outside the stadium while the final details are completed, captures exactly the tension and urgency of the summer window. One delay, one complication, one stumble in those negotiations, and Eze might have ended up somewhere else. The evidence now suggests that would have been catastrophic for Arsenal's title hopes. Because when Havertz went down and Arsenal needed a creative force who could operate between the lines, score goals and keep the attacking unit functioning at a high level, Zedja was exactly that player. His decision to choose Arsenal, validated publicly by Oliver Glasner, and the club's decision to pursue him ahead of Esposito looks like one of the defining moments of this entire season. As for Francesco Pio Esposito, the situation at Inter Milan is clear. His agent, Mario Giuffredi, was direct when asked about the Arsenal interest, stating that Esposito is doing well at Inter, is in love with the club, and will be the club's future for the next 10 years. That door appears firmly closed, and Inter Milan have no intention of selling one of the brightest young forwards in European football. The broader point from all of this is about decision-making under pressure. Berta had one idea, Arteta had another. Arteta's view prevailed, and the outcome, a Premier League title and a Champions League final, suggests that his instinct about what the squad needed was correct. Let us bring everything together, because when you step back and look at the full picture from this week, what you see is an Arsenal Football Club that is operating at a completely different level from anything we have seen in over 2 decades. The manager is focused, disciplined and already mentally preparing for Budapest while simultaneously managing the Premier League finale against Crystal Palace. The captain has given his public guarantee that everything will be given. Key players like Merino and Timber are fighting their way back to fitness. The squad's mood is joyful but not complacent. The revenue numbers confirm the financial transformation of the club. And the most difficult decision Arteta faces right now is choosing between 2 informed strikers for the biggest game of his tenure. The reporter at that press conference said it best. He had covered the most iconic moments in Arsenal's modern history, and he had never seen anything like the emotion outside the stadium after this title win. That is not sentiment. That is a measurement. That is someone with decades of experience telling you that this moment belongs in a category of its own. And with Budapest still to come, the story is not over yet. The history has not finished being written. 6 days, as Arteta said, to write a new history for this football club. This is Melissa, Arsenal analyst. If you found this analysis valuable, please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below telling me your predicted starting lineup for the Champions League final. And share this video with every Arsenal supporter you know, because this is the kind of moment we will be talking about for decades. Thank you for watching. The Gunners are going to Budapest, and they are going to give everything they have.